Дорогие коллеги, нам очень приятно
colleagues,
на одном из самых представительных
it's
российских
very
форумов
nice to
обсудить
be
проблемы
here
будущего
at
образования в России.
this highly respectable forum and talk about future of education in Russia. Let me start by introducing the panelists that will participate in our 45-minute-long discussion. We have Aleksandra Bulatova, a ninth grader in Gazprom school, Vladimir Sachkov, an 11th grader, Mikhail Kuznetsov, first-year student at MEPHI University, Katerina Polivanova is a head of research in the Higher School of Economics. All her life she's been working in the field of education. Online with us today we have two more panelists. We have Mikhail Burtsev, head of Lab for Neuron Systems and Deep Learning at Physics and Technology University, and Mr. Kurpatov, who works for Sberbank. He is a head of the Lab for Neurosciences. Welcome, everyone. We have not much time, so we will try to make the best use of it. We decided to split this session into two parts. In the first place, we want to talk about some of the challenges that we are faced with. I would like to show a couple of charts that I put together. There have been some surveys that go back to 2019. This is the assessment of education in Russia. Only 15% of parents believe that the education is good. 44% of parents said that it's average. And one-third, 28%, said that they are unhappy with the quality of education. They say it's bad. If you look at the survey of 2019, 51% of Russians believe that over the last 10 years, the situation in the field of education has deteriorated. One-third of respondents said that the key challenge is lack of focus on personal needs of students. 67% of respondents are unsatisfied with the quality of schooling. 58% of respondents believe that school books, textbooks are of poor quality, and 93% of students do not want to use the textbooks which they are given. 36% said that school education is on a par with the rest of the world. 40% of respondents said that the system of school education is ineffective. 37% of respondents said that school does not help to prepare children for adult life. 14% of Russians said, only 14% of Russians believe that modern school and modern teachers are better than teachers of the past, and 45% of Russians are confident that today's teachers are worse than the teachers that taught them when they went to school. This is the results of the survey. Children, high school students and parents were asked these questions. I want to ask you guys, Mikhail, you were in school a short time ago, and you are an outstanding student. You have won in the artificial intelligence contest. Now you are a first-year student in one of the best universities in the country. What do you think? What were you lacking? What were you missing in high school? What kind of problems can you identify now that you're a student in the university? Thank you for the question. Let me start by saying that now I am in the first year. I have finished the first semester, and I am an intermediate product now. I have traveled from high school to university. I have gone through a lot of fears. The this was especially strange and odd against the backdrop of the pandemic. I know what my peers thought, what guys in my school thought, and I can name two big challenges. One, the school does not give you any idea about future jobs and professions. I have spent 11 years in school. That's most of my life. I've been in this system, and when I graduated from school, I had very little idea of what I wanted to do in life. This was kind of a contradictory picture. In school, they teach a lot of things. They teach you geography, biology, physics, mathematics, the basic sciences, which are important, which are essential in our world. But when you leave school, you don't know where to go. Many students, many graduates would follow their parents' preferences. They would waste their best years in a completely ineffective way. They study stuff which they are never going to use in the rest of their lives. Another problem, which is connected to the first challenge, if you look at the system of education in Russia in general, not just high schools, but also universities. In the Russian system of education, we have high schools and universities, and they are separated, they are siloed. When a student goes from one grade to another, he or she goes to a different world that all the previous experience is no longer valid. Students have to change their worldview. It's difficult, it's tough for some students, and some just cannot bear it. There is a gap between these different levels of education. I'm looking at many students. I know that there are some schools that are connected to universities like Gazprom School, and I see that many of the peers I know, I have a friend who went to a Fab Lab at MIPT, and then he went to an international contest in his field, and now he is going to Sber's lab for robotics, and his skills are improving. This has been a very smooth, seamless process, and it all felt great. We are now developing our own robotic platform. We are putting together a community of students, of engineers, people who will shape the future, people who are lucky to find the things which they like to do in life. They broke through. They became much more effective. Thank you, Mikhail. One more question for you, if I may.
То, с чем вам и сегодня приходится сталкиваться.
The stuff that you face today, and you did face it in the past, the examinations. Do you think examinations are a good way to validate knowledge? Hard to say. In a system where every person in the country, from Kaliningrad to Vladivostok, has equal rights, we're not talking about the universal graduation exam. We're talking about examinations in general. Well, the point of an examination is to give people equal rights and to get equal opportunities. If you look at high school level or university level, but examinations by definition are hard. People get nervous. It's a lot of stress when you sit at a desk and people are watching you and they make sure that you don't violate any rules. They are important. Many things depend on the outcomes of examinations. Examinations per se, well, what is the purpose of an examination? It's worth it, but the form of examinations probably is worth changing. Thank you, Mikhail. What do you think was the problem in your life? What could be improved? I would like to talk about some factors that played a role in me getting the knowledge which I appreciate. First of all, that is tutorship. What I have is skills in the field of AI, and that is what I got from my teacher in the 8th grade. He was very important for me. He introduced me to a community of people that have the same interests as I did, and this was a very important thing back then. It's also important that the community, the environment that you're in, should be more knowledgeable than you are. For me, this is a great stimulus. This is a great incentive. My tutors, I've been noticing that tutors have been giving me more time, paying more attention to me when I showed my interest. When I became interested in literature, my teacher made several recommendations, and I became deeply interested in literature, although I had never been interested in that in the past. I think that the most effective form of education is project kind learning, because then children would be able to choose those subjects which they like, and they pay less attention to other things. I like math, I like programming, software development. In a project work, one has to set a goal. And this would be something that you like. I was involved in a project where we tried to generate poems, verses. I never would think that I would read so much stuff about literature and poetry. So that gave me a lot of knowledge. So you do need literature in the end. I think every person should study everything, but then he or she would be able to decide what he likes better. Well, you are using the platform. It's a pilot, but maybe you can give us quick comments. You have studied without a platform, and now you are using platform. I am not using the platform anymore. I have changed the direction, but when I did use a platform, well, I can say this. Any platform is convenient. You don't have to write to your teacher every time. You don't have to overcome barriers. You can just go to a platform, check out the list of tasks, and this creates a good structure, which you end up having in your head, and you know what you have to accomplish to go to the next level. I think an electronic platform is always nice to have, no matter what it does. Aleksandra, what do you think about the challenges of your school years? My situation is slightly different. In my school, we did a lot of projects. My school taught us a lot about different professions. It gives every student an opportunity to try a lot of different stuff. Foreign languages, 3D modeling, 3D printing. This is very practical. This is very good. Everything is in one place, and a student would focus on the stuff that he or she is interested in. Students would spend more time on studying. We also have very good teachers, very good tutors. Our teachers are our friends, and we are able to really work on the same wavelength with them. My tutor, the social sciences scholar, has been with me at the time of a large contest that I have participated in. She has invested a lot of time in me, and I am extremely appreciative of that. I always say a big thank you to her, because she has spent a lot of her free time on me. Another benefit that I wanted to mention is that our school is not siloed, it's not separated from students' families. Teachers stay in touch with parents. They give them a lot of feedback. They talk to parents. They talk about the problems that students are experiencing. They would shape classes in such a way that would give the best opportunities for students to learn. That is the biggest task for most schools, to create a foundation that a student can use so that a student would be confident in his abilities. And that should work together with the family. So you're doing fine. Good. Lucky you. You are making a very logical presentation. Do you think you want to become a teacher? That's not what I am thinking. I have asked myself if I wanted to do that. I went to several shows, to several education events, but I do not see what I could do in that profession. You talked so wonderfully about your tutor, and I know about the contest that you were a part of. This was a great contest, and Mr. Gerienko and myself decided that we should award all the teachers, all the tutors that participated in that event. Very good job they did. Does that inspire you to do something similar in life? You study in the Gazprom school. Gazprom is a large corporation, but education is so much more important than natural gas. I cannot argue with that. However, I am inspired not with teaching, but I am more interested in working with teachers. Maybe I could help them, assist them in delivering knowledge to students. Many times teachers do not stay in touch with students. I want to become a person who would be a conductor between a teacher and a student. Well, tutorship is definitely very important. Mentorship is important. It's always relevant wherever you work. Ekaterina, maybe you can draw some conclusions and make comments about your assessment of the modern system of education. What is it lacking? Why does the system of education does not provide a ticket into the future? We certainly have invited several unique students to participate in this panel. I do not know if this was just a piece of good luck for these students, but they probably did a good job themselves. They have ended up in very good schools. They are searching for interesting things. I liked this example of poetry and studies of poetry. It's really good luck that they have become a part of such communities, and it's great that they have found supportive people who helped them. These were success stories, good stories. There is a network of possibilities in the field of education, and those possibilities are unlimited. And there are networks of people that we communicate with. And here comes a challenge, our idea of school education. We're thinking of a building, which is a place where everything is taking place. But this is becoming less and less relevant. A school cannot accommodate everything. I know there are many different opportunities that schools present to students, but no school can really offer everything. In 1970s, there was an important work which said that one should try to select the subjects that are most interesting, most attractive to students. At that time, it sounded utopian, but today this becomes a possibility. What are the pain points that you can identify, the most important things? What are the challenges? Can we continue to use the legacy system? Back in 1957, we launched the first satellite in space, and Americans said that their nation was in danger because Russians launched the satellite. Back in 1957, we had a wonderful system of education, but then the world went on. The task was different, but the system of education remained the same. This is subject-based education system with rigid targets. and benchmarks. We have a platoon of students. They are like soldiers. So if education is not personalized, people said that if you have two children in your family, they are not like one another. They're all different. Well, a company is much bigger than the size of a class, but in every class you have 20 or 30 students, and they are all unique, and you only have one teacher that has to take care of all of them.
That was number one. Second, the landscape of education. And I would say it's excessive, too much there. Our curriculum at schools, we consider that everything should be learned, but it should not be like this. Well, I need to talk to the students first, because offering them something, some think they would become interested in, and they start doing more in that particular area. And this idea that I'll miss out something on mechanics, say, or something else, or we'll never know anything about friction, that's okay. That was number two. Too much, excessive, many formats, that was number two. And now, well, the very notion of the class system, classroom system, we've touched upon that a little bit, that personalization, individualization. And, well, actually, every student should have their own trajectory. Well, somebody should help them, give me like a badge to be able to enter a certain area of knowledge. Well, maybe retain me in some area of knowledge, while the parents retains children when they become interested in something, and then the person develops in that particular area. If the family are not interested, also not very good. There's another important point here. Previous educational system, while had the objective of eradicating illiteracy, well, that objective was achieved back then. In terms of literacy, we were very good if compared to other countries, and we remain so. But the question is, should that objective be changed now? Evidently, it has to change, right? Providing knowledge at school by teacher, like the only source of knowledge. Before, in the previous system, that was okay. But today, there are multiple sources of information. The forms are different. And the possibilities of getting extra school knowledge, well, these possibilities are huge now. And we try to retain the students within classrooms. And now we also have artificial intelligence. On the one hand, we are concerned what is going to happen to us. We cannot compete against the artificial intelligence in terms of the amount of knowledge, because they can get knowledge much quicker. But what artificial intelligence cannot do is make decisions in situations of uncertainty. And we do not teach that skill to our children at all. We could introduce a subject which would be called decision-making. There's no such subject at high school or theory of decision-making. It's not offered by universities either. Well, the higher school of economics, fortunately, they have this subject, and we did our analysis. It's 5 to 6 universities in Russia only that offer this subject. It's one of the soft skills that children should be taught early in life. Well, also emotional intelligence, ability to engage in a discussion, etc. Many other things that we need at schools. But why, if I may, I would like to put out that idea that you expressed that we need a lesson dedicated to decision making. Well, now we just can do that through situations. Well, and that's true of all the soft skills, right? But I do think that there should be a dedicated subject or lesson for that, because certain knowledge about that would be required. Well, financial literacy, we wanted to introduce that class. But when children sell their old toys, that's good, better even, because it's practical. They would say, if you buy 3 old cars from me, toy cars, I will give you a discount. Well, absolutely.
Коллеги, если можно, сразу же перейти, может быть, ко второй теме.
We have a second part of this discussion. To start it off, I would like to ask Mikhail, as a specialist from one of the most advanced universities that study artificial intelligence, from your experience and teaching experience at one of the best universities of the country, and as an expert in artificial intelligence, what do you think, what should be the model for our educational system of the future? What is missing now? Thank you for inviting me to participate in this excellent discussion. I have heard many interesting ideas and opinions already, but what came to my mind is a metaphor. When we say, well, we try to drink from a fire hose. I have this feeling that it's a fire hose of information being fired at children. There are so many sources of information, courses for high school students and university students, and that creates a great flow of opportunity. On the one hand, people can maximally tap their potential. On the other hand, like a fire hose, like gushing water into your face and you try to drink from it, it's not that easy to find one's bearings in that flood of information. So, from what's been said today, the capacity of making right decisions, projects, understanding what you need in life will help channel that flow in the meaningful direction. The technology of artificial intelligence that we're dealing with, and something which becomes more and more common, used for personification of proposals in terms of commercial services, and also in personalizing information in the internet, including educational content. That's going to play a bigger role. That would be a personalized offering, tracking the interests of students, their level of preparedness, their preferences, maybe inborn peculiarities or abilities, their ability to participate in teamwork. So AI could recommend to the students that would motivate the student and create opportunities for the student, not only to passively get into knowledge, but develop skills to actively procure knowledge. That would help them very much in their professional life. Well, you mentioned 2 ideas. First, personalization and the possibilities of artificial intelligence and the digital track that is led by every student to first identify the abilities and preferences of a student and kind of push the student into a particular area, into a particular skill set. Well, I would not use the word push. If we say push, it may put the student into a passive position and have to push. No, what AI can do is recommend, like saying, this may be better for you than something else, and the student will take a decision themselves. Well, that's a terminological issue, of course. There's a great book has been released recently. It's called naging. It's in English, like nudging students. Unfortunately, AI, want we or not, they would nudge us to go into a particular direction, narrowing the area of choices for us, narrowing that flood that we can choose from. But the decision, of course, stays with the person, with a student. But we can recommend options for them. Knowledge is good, but knowledge tends to be lost with time. But skills, some practical skills, are critically important, and I absolutely agree with you on this. What else do we need in the school of the future? Consistency. Like we said, that's a silo structure. First we have high school, then we have university, and then professional activity or academic activity, like in our laboratory. And that transition from university to professional work, that could be smoothened out, because in higher grades, before graduation, students can start specializing. But in high school, that's very rare. It's not a massive phenomenon. There's no set of tools to help the students to move smoothly from high school to university. Well, there was a good example mentioned today from MIPT, Institute of Steel and Alloys, because they have their own school. But so this transition to create a smooth learning trajectory from high school to professional work, that's something that's missing and we need. That may not have been that important in the past, but we feel this need today. Clear, Michael and my guys mentioned that moving from junior and high school, one transition, second transition from high school to university, and then to professional life. And there are huge gaps between these. We feel that as an employer and absolutely agree with you. This has to be resolved somehow. Well, we do think that we have an answer to this, but I would like to ask Andrey Kurpatov about this. I know you conducted a lot of research on that, the effect of the information age, excessive amount of online resources and gadgets and their influence on children. How to use that more productively? What is your opinion? What model of education do you see? To also have, retain the psychological stability of the students. When we say about excessive knowledge or information resources to children, mainly it's entertainment sources that they use. But we have to be more systemic about knowledge and change the role of teacher. Before, teachers were the only source of knowledge, and textbooks also. Now, the mentality of the children have changed. They cannot deal with the teacher like they did in the past. And so there could be digital content created to interact with the students. But the role of the teacher becomes more important in that situation. We talk about tutoring, but that could be two types of tutoring, like psychologists that help children work in teams, developing certain skills, social interaction, etc. On the other hand, proper tutors would help the students do specific projects in specific areas of knowledge. That's a change in mentality that is required for that. That's something we want to become aware of, that our children will use digital platforms to get knowledge, and teachers would no longer be the sources of knowledge. They would be the source of experience. There was an Experience McKinsey research. They say the most important factor of efficiency of education is if a student spends at least 1 hour with a teacher, one-on-one, during a week. When a teacher learns about the interests of the children, helps them with advice, that's the most efficient way to channel our education. The system we have right now, of course, is utterly inefficient. Second problem is the stress associated with learning at school. Well, Mikhail, you won contests, etc., and you say, when you went passed exams to university, that was a very stressful for you. That should be changed. And it's only digital platforms that watch or monitor the change in the interests of a student, their digital track. Something that would help in the future would not be that stressful for the children, will not be such destructive, like preparing children for after high school examination. That takes most of their time right now, rather than expanding other skills. Well, I'm in the brain research. I'm sure Katerina will support me in what I'm going to say. We know that the brain continues developing for a very long period of time, 25 years a minimum, that we form our brain. It's like a long childhood, and doing superficially imposed professional orientation for them, forcing a particular profession on that could destroy the life of a person. A child at 17 cannot make a decision on what they want to be. Their brain is not ready for them. The frontal lobes would be fully developed at 21. It's only the digital footprint, what children do on the platform, would be able to do the right suggestion to a student. The previous systems, they didn't work, they failed. Only artificial intelligence can help that. And of course, smooth transitions between various stages of education. From preschool to school, that transition has been improved. But we have to do the same at the stages from school to higher education. And again, this can only be done using the digital platforms. So, yes, the negative content like TikTok, memes on the psyche of the children, that is there, it's destructive, but there is also help from the digital platforms, giving continuous feedback to students because they see their own progress, because they're online. That's a solution for the future. But there should be support from the educational community, from the teachers, because they have to rethink their role. They should become tutors, coaches for the children, not the sources of knowledge. Thank you. I'd like to add here or emphasize the importance of the presence of large corporations and technological corporations, because first, all platforms in the world have not been created by governments. I don't know a single digital platform created by a government, including educational ones, all done by large corporations. Because first, this is highly professional area, and today's cloud platforms based on super modern artificial intelligence, very complex, very long process. Look at the United States. The Googles, Facebooks, these are the companies who invest a lot. Microsoft, of course, who invest a lot into the development of educational platform. In Russia, it's us, it's Mail, it's Yandex, probably the three biggest companies investing so much in creating the domestic product and dairy, and a lot of startups staying for doing that. Similar situation elsewhere in the world. So the conclusion that I can derive from this and from the statement of Andrey, too much use of digital content from very early in age, like an instrument replacing the parents, like an iPad replacing the parents. It's a very bad story, but a digital tool has a possibility of personalization of the digital content, releasing the teacher from giving out knowledge so that they can perform the function of a tutor, live communication between the teacher and the students, which is most important. And the students, if they can ask questions from the teacher, what do you know about that and that? Or vice versa, teacher asking the student, you never know whether, in answering the question, what is the scope of knowledge of a student. This is not the best way to know the level of learning of a student. But if it's a teacher, if it's parents that are involved, knowing the strong features and weaknesses of the children, then the efficiency of the teachers and schools would be much higher. Guys, we have only a few minutes to go. Just one phrase from each. Well, to sum up from my side, going into history, back in the Industrial Revolution age, the objective was to start learning. With the digital technologies, computing technologies at the end of the 20th century, the objective is to learn to learn. And now a major challenge for all of people of my age, high school students or university students, is to implement or use the available educational technologies to find our place there. The possibility of forming teams. Like I said, the example from our personal story, it's not small teams of students. We have big communities. Our community has 160 people already. What Katerina spoke about, she spoke about networks, educational networks. But at this point in time, this is very sparsely spread. Like serious, one school there, but we need more schools and communities like this. Well, summing up the discussion, I have a slide for that. It's main principles of education. First is personalization, based on the digital footprint of every children and creating personal trajectories for every child in this country. That can be done only through the use of artificial intelligence. From knowledge to skills, that's number 2. Number 3, developing soft skills that are very important for life. These include social skills, the knowledge of how to communicate with society or behave in society, then cognitive skills, the ability to think actively, and third, emotional skills, emotional intelligence. That is, feel or identify the emotions of oneself, of other people, and manage those. 4 is digital skills, and this is not programming. This is a wealth, a whole world of digital skills, creating products, training in the digital architectures, modern cloud products, artificial intelligence, and programming is also there, but it's a small part, because the epoch of programmers is going to be obsolete soon. Artificial intelligence will take their part, and of course, lifelong learning. This ability to learn throughout your life is something people should get at high school. This is the way we see the future system of education, something we have to invest all resources available into. And all of that should be based on a digital educational platform that would stay with the child from elementary school to university and to professional life. And that can be integrated only in a digital platform. And 2 final slides, please.
John Kennedy
once said, the progress of our country cannot go faster than the progress of our educational system. I have to agree with that. Although he said that in 1963, Nelson Mandela said, there's no weapon more powerful than changing life than education. Well, in my understanding of the priorities, absolutely so, for our country and for the rest of the world, the absolute priority is creating a modern educational system. If we want to see a successful, a rich and happy country, we need to invest all our what we have in creating a new educational model that is attractive to children, so that children want to go to school, or rather saying that it's threatening, it's abusive and stressful. Altogether, as a result of such discussions, I'm sure we'll come at one point in time to this common understanding and start moving in that direction. Thank you, all the participants, on behalf of the team of Sberbank. And we have more than 500 people now involved in a project to create a digital platform for education, to connect all those pieces of those stages in the educational process. So on behalf of the team, we have some presents for the ladies first. Thank you, Katerina, for participating. Thank you, Aleksandra. And some mementos.
Здесь вот Сберпортал.
This is Sber portal or Sberbox. And guys, this is for you. Mikhail will send that. The ones who are online will send those presents to you. Thank you.